They say if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. So if there are any openings for a professional couch potato, could someone please let me know? Hey, you crazy kids, and welcome to another installment of Voices in My Closet, where I am the voices in my closet. Not your closet, it's okay, you don't have to freak out or anything like that. I hope you're all doing well this week. If you're watching it this week, if you're watching this weeks or months or years from now, I hope you're also doing well. People of the future, I hope you're doing just as well as the people in January 2018. I wanted to dial things back a little bit this week compared to the prior week, where I got a little bit into some sensitive territory talking about bullying experiences. I want to keep it light this time and talk about something that I think we'd all love to hear about, like work and jobs. I know we probably don't want to hear about that kind of stuff, but I think it's very important to talk about, considering the fact that most of us are probably going to have to work some kind of job in our life. And I think I learned a lot throughout my different odd job experiences in my life. I did a lot of different things in the past 10 years, and it's kind of scary to think that it has been just about 10 years, maybe a little bit less than that. So we're going to go ahead and dive right into the workplace environment. As I mentioned, I had a lot of different odd jobs growing up, including working as a paperboy a little bit before I was 16. 16 is the age that I think most people are considered eligible, at least in this country, to work some of the lower level jobs. But I started out as a paperboy around the age of 15, working a route in my neighborhood with my friend, and it was great. I got my exercise. I just got to walk around my neighborhood once a week. It wasn't a newspaper. It was just a once a week town crier, local news story stuff, and I got paid a whole $38 every month. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but for me, not getting paid anything other than from that job, it was great. I didn't get an allowance from my parents, and I think it was because they wanted to sort of teach us the value of money and sort of seeking different ways to earn it other than just doing chores at home. They wanted us to teach us that value and not give us the expectation that our parents are always going to provide for us, which I think definitely helped us be a lot more independent in that sense. Not in other senses, that's for sure. Because we were very, I needed a parent for a while. I needed an adult for a while. But the paper route was a good job. I enjoyed it, but it did not prepare me for what came next, which was working in fast food service, namely McDonald's. And I can never forget the day that I was at home on the couch watching TV when our dad called from work and said, "Today's National Hiring Day at McDonald's. Go apply." And my brother and I wanted nothing to do with it. We didn't want to be part of the food industry. And if I could have come up with any excuse, I would. But I was 17. I was a year past when I should have started working. So I went, and of course, how could I not be hired? I was hired immediately, and I was not okay with it. I was really hoping they'd be like, we don't want you for whatever reason. But I thought maybe since I had a more likable, friendly kind of face, and I was articulate and had good etiquette and could communicate with people, maybe they'd put me at the cash register in the front or even the window. But no, they put me on the grill. They put me in front of the hot, smelly, greasy grill, and it wasn't good. It was not good to me. It was not a great job. I got to see firsthand how all the food was made, and I do not enjoy McDonald's food. I've never enjoyed McDonald's food, and at the time when I started the job, it had been years since I had been to a McDonald's, so it wasn't something that I was too thrilled about. And when you see how the food is made firsthand, it really makes you question whether you should be eating fast food at all. But I usually kept to myself. I didn't really talk to anybody, and I didn't really enjoy the job. I mean, it taught me the value of money again, but it was not something that I wanted to stick with for a while, and I always used so many excuses to try to get out of working there. I only ended up working maybe up to 12 hours a week because I tried so many different things to get out of it, and which is why I was really happy when I started college, because I was going to school about an hour away, and I didn't have a car, so I couldn't go back, and I wasn't broken up about that, and I wasn't going to transfer either. So I worked at McDonald's for about a year and a half. Then I started going to school. And actually, when I was working at McDonald's, I was also working as a piano teacher for my two cousins, which taught me a little bit more of a different side of working, where you're kind of the teacher and you're being paid for your services as a teacher, teaching somebody else. And as some of you know, I'm a bit of a musician. I learned piano as my very first instrument, and I think it was actually 10 years that I had been playing it. Wow, and I'm still playing it now, which is way more than 10 years. I don't even know how many now. It's like 15 or something like that. Yeah, 15 years. Crazy to think about that. Anyways, it's something that taught me a lot of patience. Not that my students were bad; they were my cousins, and I hope they enjoyed learning with me. But just learning how to teach, I was kind of learning with them in the sense of how to teach. So I learned that side of things, and that also went away after I went to college, and I just remember getting towards the spring semester, my parents told me, okay, you know that if you come home, you have to start working at McDonald's again, or you're going to have to look for another job. And McDonald's was the last thing that I wanted to do. So I found a job at a bookstore, which turned out to be a great change of pace for me. I enjoyed it a lot more. And I got to, I got to work with books, and I love books. And the only thing that I didn't enjoy about this job was the little kids that I had to deal with, because there were kids whose parents worked at the stores around ours, and it wasn't great keeping track of them, because what they would do is we had an adult book section, and the kids would sneak into the adult book section and read through some of the stuff, and some of the stuff had plastic wrapping, which so we'd know if they were looked at, because the kids would break that plastic seal. And it was so awkward having to kick them out for that kind of thing. But I was also thankful that I didn't go through that experience with puberty, like having those urges to go to a public bookstore and look at adult books when you know that you can get caught. That's a completely different story, a completely different topic in general. But the kids, it made me sad that this was what they decided to do with their time. So that was probably the worst part of the job. And I mean, everybody that I worked with was decent, and I mean, the customers were pretty pleasant anyways, because how can you get mad about books, really? Well, you could, but again, another story. So from that job, I went into something completely different, which was being a teacher's aide for a summer camp for children with developmental disabilities. This was something that was a recommendation from one of my friends, and it was just a summer job, and I didn't have any summer jobs lined up, and I really needed to get paid somehow. So I'm really glad that I took this job. It wasn't anywhere near my comfort zone. It took me way out of my comfort zone, like into space. And I had to watch one specific kid every single day, 5 days a week for 8 weeks, and they're all very high functioning kids. But I mean, my particular kid, he liked to fight quite a bit. And it just taught me so much about me as a person and how to interact with children with developmental disabilities. And it was a really good experience. I got beaten and bruised and all different kinds of things, but it really taught me so much. I learned a lot of different things, and I cherish my time there, even though I don't think that I could ever survive doing that as a full-time job for the rest of my life. But yeah, it was very good doing that, and also working with other people who had a little bit more experience than me and were able to, show me the ropes and teach me all of that. And from there, I went straight into a job. At the end of the summer, I started a new job as a resident assistant at my school, starting in the fall semester. And that was another one where I sort of had to learn to interact with people, very different people, people that didn't have similar personalities to me or my friends. And we were we were in sensitivity training, where we had to learn how to interact with people who were depressed or suicidal. And I think it was all very good. to be able to learn that and to learn, how to respond to different kinds of indications, different kinds of red flags with our different residents. And I was in one of the nicer halls too, which I was very happy about. It had the private bathrooms in each of the rooms, and the rooms were a little bit bigger, and we had air conditioning, so it was a good experience. I made some friends out of it. I also made some enemies because when you're there, you kind of have to uphold all the policies, and I had to obviously write people up if they broke any rules, and I had to, sort of be that authority figure that nobody really wanted, because when you go to college, you want to be independent. You think, my parents aren't here, so I can do whatever I want. But when you're living on campus, there's still those people who are sort of trying to uphold the rules, and I was one of those people. And it wasn't always bad, but there were those instances where roommates weren't getting along, so they were fighting a lot and causing an issue for everyone in that area of the hall. And I was in a co-ed hall too, so I had to learn to interact with different groups of people completely. I had to deal with women and men and people from different countries, and it was sometimes there was a language barrier, and I had to do my best to learn all those different things, and it didn't turn out as bad as I thought it was going to be, and I learned quite a bit about working with people, but it was stressful when you had to deal with people getting sick and people bringing drugs or alcohol into the building because we weren't allowed to have those, and people fighting with each other, not getting along, or causing loud noises. So it's difficult to try to be friendly with people when you also have to uphold the policies, but it's kind of one of those tough love sort of situations where they know that they need to be a little bit more responsible because we're the ones who are trying to embody that model of responsibility. And it was a good experience also, I think. I keep saying it's a good experience. I definitely learned a lot, and I think that I became a better person out of that, learning how to deal with different situations, whether they were severe or not severe. Thankfully, nothing ever got too severe. But it wasn't bad. And the best perk of that was that it did help pay for my room and board for a year of college, which was great. I don't think I would have gotten out of the amount of debt. I would have been in a lot of debt if that had not been the case, if I had not taken that job. So I'm very thankful for that. And we also did get a stipend every month, just a little bit of extra money to help. It was good. I wish I had started that a lot sooner and not my junior year, but my senior year I wanted to live on my own in an apartment. So it was fine. It was good. And after being an RA, I knew that since I was getting into my senior year, I needed an internship. I didn't need it. I wanted it because I wanted some experience. So I decided to get something that was sort of in my field. I became a videography intern for a talent agency near where I was going to school. And it was a good job. I only went in maybe 3 times a week, and I would work with this agency's social media, and also I got to video record auditions and just different kinds of casting call events, and it was good. I enjoyed it a lot, and I learned a little bit more about recording for my own YouTube channel, and I think my YouTube channel kind of helped with this too. And I even got asked to be a part of certain casting calls when they were looking for somebody of my general appearance, and because my bosses knew that I wanted to get into voice acting and just acting roles in general, so they were trying to help me out there, and they were really nice people. They were all very accommodating, and I was the only guy working there too, so aside from one of my bosses, so it was very different, and I think they kind of felt bad for me, but everyone was really nice, regardless of what position they held, whether it was my bosses or somebody else. So it was also another job that I'm glad I got the experience from. It wasn't paid, but it was definitely worth it because I learned a lot from that. And I learned a lot about the movie industry too, which I can talk about that experience in another podcast. So after that job, I I didn't really have anything because it was my senior year of college and I wanted to focus on that. Afterwards, though, I started looking around because I wasn't finding anything. I wasn't able to find a job right out of college. I ended up doing an odd job. I went back to the agency and worked as a receptionist, which, it's debatable whether or not that was good for me. It was answering phones, which wasn't too exciting, and I was back home by like 9 o'clock at night without having dinner yet. So not very ideal for me, but I did work also as a wedding DJ on the side on a few weekends over the summer. I met a guy who had DJ'd one of my church group events, and he introduced me to his boss, and he got me a job as a DJ. I had rented equipment, and I DJ'd weddings for a few weeks and even the occasional grad parties. So it wasn't bad. It's kind of stressful because you know that a lot of people are going to be unhappy if you make one wrong step, and you just have to make sure to go out of your way to make sure that everyone is enjoying themselves and that you just kind of had to put everyone first. And I learned a lot about that through that job, and it was a little bit stressful, but again, learning a lot about myself through that. But along the way, I did find my job that I actually recently left just a few months ago with iHeartRadio. We are actually called iHeartMedia, which is the bigger advertising group that sort of encompasses iHeartRadio. iHeartMedia encompasses iHeartRadio. So I was a sales rep for that, and I hadn't gone to school for sales. I had no idea what I was doing. And I think it was very difficult for me to sort of transition through that job because I was working with people who were significantly older than me, who had a lot of experience selling, and while they were all willing to help me, I just don't think it ever clicked completely. There were some times where I did a great job making a sale, and a lot more times, the majority of the time, I fell short. And I just don't think it was the job for me. I'm looking back at it now. I don't think it would have been the best first job to start out with because it was a commission job, which means I only made a small percentage of what my clients were selling or buying from us. So I could only make maybe 13.5% of all of that. And being in such a small market in mid-Ohio, it wasn't a whole lot anyways. So it was difficult living on my own and having to pay back college debts and a car payment, and also make the small amount of money that I did. So it's a wonder that I was able to get by. But I think looking back now, it was something that I needed. I think the sales experience definitely helped with my current job that I'm in right now, which I do enjoy. I do enjoy this job a lot and the people that I work with, and it's a lot more my speed, a lot more what I went to school for. So regardless of whether or not I enjoyed these jobs, I definitely think they all taught me a little bit of different things. I got different kinds of experiences, things like working as a resident assistant in college taught me a lot about how to interact with people now. And it was a good past 10 years of working, just learning how to do different things, whether it was, making food or teaching someone something or, resolving arguments or calling the police when somebody had marijuana in their room, or even going to somebody's business and cold calling and talking to people for the first time and asking them to buy something. I learned a lot about how to sort of come out of my shell in that respect and explore these different experiences. I learned to become a more professional person. And I'd actually like to hear what your experiences have been. If you've had a job that you really enjoy, if you have a job or had a job that you didn't particularly like. You don't have to say specifics if it's going to get you in trouble at work. This might actually not be safe to watch at work. But yeah, let me know what you want to do, what you are doing right now, if you love what you're doing right now. So yeah, all of you probably know that my dream is to become a professional voice actor, and I've given myself 10 years from now to achieve that. In the next 10 years, that's my goal. So in the year 2028, I better be there, or I'm going to be pretty upset. We'll see what happens. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you think about this show. Continue to give me some feedback. Anything that I can fix, anything that I don't need to fix. I love hearing about that stuff too. And let me know about your jobs. Let me know what your what your job aspirations are. If you haven't gone through college yet, if you haven't gone through high school, if you haven't even started working yet, let me know what you want to do. And any fun job experiences that you've had. I'd love to hear about those. I will be talking about a new topic next week, obviously. If you have any ideas, let me know. I'm still taking suggestions, and I'm sort of working through those while also working through my own ideas. But yeah, I'd love to hear what you have to say. I hope you all have a great week, and I will see you next time.